What's going on, guys? Today we will have an episode with the tutorial to Universal Battle. While I know that there are many episodes online with the tutorial, I will try to have a more easy approach and show you all the new stuff, because the Universal Battle is being constantly updated. So there are many new features that are very fine in the 2.0 version. And I've actually have a guest today. We have Kołata, who is an old ACS ADT guy from Beastheads, from Orcs and Goblins. He's a very good player. He plays both of those armies for a very, very long time. He played at some ETCs with Team Canada, as far as I remember. And he is a member of a very, very good Polish club. He is another candidate for the team. And I will walk him through the Universal Battle startings. Hopefully he will ask some questions that about things that I could miss. So this will be a complete one. So let's start with the starting screen. As you can see, you can log in here. You have 5 languages. The application is available also on the phones, but on the phones I wouldn't recommend playing it, but it's good for watching the games. So you can sign as a guest as well. After you sign in, you are thrown into the lobby. If you want to train for the tournaments and you don't want anyone to spot you, you can always create a closed match. So there is no issue with that. Also, if you don't like the audience and you don't like people interrupting you, then that may be good. So let's start with the basics. We'll do it from the perspective of the pro account, because we both have pro accounts. So you can do most of the stuff without the pro account. But for example, the editing armies part you cannot do. Let's start with just how to build your army. As you can see, if you enter the edit army screen, you will have a few tabs. The first tab is the generic armies created by the UB. Those are available to non-pro players. So you can set those as default here. Then you have your own armies. So Kołata, you probably have none yet, right?
Yeah. I haven't tried. I haven't played at UB for many years, actually.
I think it's a good way to be back. Unfortunately for now, I have all the slots taken. As you can see, I have 12 armies already built here. But unless you're a crazy guy like me, you probably wouldn't have troubles having your slots. Here you can enter the name of your army. You can delete the army if you want. And if you want to create another model, you just click create. Although creating models from scratch is very hard, at least for me, because I'm not a hobbyist and I'm not a graphic designer, so that's problematic. But I will show you the way how to do it pretty easily. So the next tab is your favorite tab. So there are because if you see here at every army, you have a star in the corner, and you can star the army, and if you star it, it will put it in this tab. I would recommend you to not start too many armies, because it will probably influence the time for the loadings. But as you can see, this is the army by Jack Ginger, and I can easily use this army if I want as well. If you want to search for some armies, there is the last tab. So you just put search BH, and there will be a lot of armies. Most of them will be good, I would say. So here is an army that, for example, has a lot of models, because you can see the tool here that will show you how long it is, right? If you like the army, you can always star it. But if you only like the models because you want to create your own army, then this is the tool that I would recommend using, because you just click on the model, you click clone, and you have your armies. Let's say I will add this Razor to the Saurian Ancients. So this should go without any issues. And then if you look back at your armies here, we go to Saurian Ancients, and at the end of the Saurian Ancients you can see the Razortusk. So if you want, you can also edit him right here. You cannot edit other people's armies, but you can edit your own armies. So this is great. So if you want to, for example, have the base fit your own army, as you can see, my Saurian Ancients are mostly with the blue bases. So I would just remove the background and just change the base to blue. so it can blend better into the army. If you look at the dwarf, you can have you see that there are 5 options, right? So there is much more customizing to do. And obviously you can change the colors of all the stuff right on the right side. This is all very intuitive for me. I don't know if that looks intuitive to you.
Yeah, it looks pretty easy.
Yeah, and if you want to change just not the whole model, because right here, if we just turn down the red, then yeah, that goes for the whole model. But if you want to go for only one part, you just switch around here. And if we want to change the armor to be of one color, we just do this, and that's pretty easy as well. You also can put things here. You have the animals, so if you want to have the mounts, or if you are building the army that is considered of single model animals, monsters as well. Weapons, so if you want to have some dagger or some axe, we just put it. If you want to switch the layer, so here the axe is on top of the dwarf. If you want to switch the layers, then it will be on the bottom, right? So this is where you do that. And obviously you have large variety of shapes and sizes. And if you want to change size, you just drag this one, and if you want to turn it, rotate it, then this is the button here. And if you want to delete it, then obviously delete this. If you want to include some things on your base, then probably scenics will be good, because then you can most likely use the patch, but you need, okay, so the odd ones are the circle ones, and the even ones are, or rectangular rather, and you have I think 5 of them to choose from. So if you want to have the desert or snow or something like this, I just prefer to have the base to be naked, because I think that while the models here can have many details, they can it's pretty hard to spot them on the battlefield itself. If you want to change the color of the base, then you have 10 colors for the base here, and the size of the base, that's all very natural, right?
Yeah, sure.
So do you have any questions about creating the models and creating the army? I think for the start, it's the easiest to just pick some army from some guide that you like. Like if I want to play Beast Hearts, I always have this army here. I don't even remember how far can I, but you can just search the name, right? And it looks pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I would, for myself, I would pick up a ready army. It's universal battle. My army in real is really nice, but on the computer I don't mind playing very simple things.
Your army on the battlefield is amazing. but yeah, I think that on the computer, especially because it's hard sometimes to differentiate some things, and if you see the models, like it's very easy to see things that look good on the editor, but on the battlefield not really, because the details are too small. If you put too many details on 20mm models, then that will not look good on the UB.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's the part about creating the army. Now, if you have your saved army and if you have everything ready, you can just go to create a match. You put your.
How do you create the roster?
We cannot do that from this screen. We will do the create the roster part in a second, because
All right.
So usually when I create my own rosters, and if I want to create a roster but have no one interrupt me, I will just go to the close match, and let's just call it testing. And if you don't want the password, you just click continue. If you want the password, you click password, and we can enter. Okay, so if you enter here, you see 3 tabs on the left.
All right.
Okay, so here the first tab is the chat. So you write stuff here, and you will see what happens. Here is also the movement log that we will see in the second. The second tab is the list of people that will be in your game. What is very good that they added is that they added the swords. The thing is that players who have rights to play on the table will have the swords nearby them. So as you can see, Kołata now cannot do anything on the table. But if I will click his name and click allow user to play, I will give him the full permissions. So now he basically has the same rights as me. The one thing that differentiates me from him now is that if I leave the game and rejoin the game, as the creator of the game, I will still have rights. But if he leaves the game and he rejoins the game, then I will need to give him rights back. So here, the last tab is, you can have sounds, but sounds are not necessary for this game. You can have centimeters. But again, we all play with inches, so that's not for us. And then there is the third part, that is log of the movement. You can keep the log of the movement or not. It can be annoying. It really depends. Because with the log of the movement, you basically can leave and let your opponent play, because you always can check if he didn't move too much or that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's fine. You should now have access to all the buttons I have on my screen. Do you have those?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So let's go from the left side. Tools. So actually, let's start with the special, because it has the most important tools. The first one is the measurement tape. The things that come from the tools tab can be moved by both players. So if I create the measurement tape, you can also move it.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, you can basically drag one of the ends of the tape. So if you want to change the army to default and put the models, you need to click the set to default button on the right side. So now I can put like 20 skeletons with full command group facing this direction. And as you can see, the skeletons, while they are not bad, then on the larger scale they don't look as good as they would look at the lower scale. And then we can put some Court of the Damned, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this looks familiar.
Yeah, and then the best part is that you can really easily check the distances now. Also because you just do it like this, right? So this is very cool in my opinion. And then the second tool that is very important is the draw part. Okay, we can actually draw a line here, so I will do stuff on the left side and you can test stuff at the same time on the right side, so we don't interfere with each other. Because I think what's most annoying is when you're trying to measure something on UB and your opponent is trying to use the same measurement tape. Okay, but then you have some more meters, and here you have the 12, 18, 24, all this stuff. You have the line of sight, but line of sight is not as common now, and I will show you why in a second. While templates are no longer used in the game, then templates are very good for pointing out what is happening. So if I want to charge, for example, I say I want to charge with this cord onto those skeleton units, or I want to shoot with this unit at the other unit, and this is actually what most people do. Okay, more tools. You have symbols. So the most important symbol is the skull, I guess, because this is the easiest way to mark wounds. And then the very important symbol is, I guess, this purple star, because it is the easiest way to mark the veil tokens, for example. I wouldn't recommend using the symbols for the scenario, for one simple reason, because the symbols can be moved through the entire game. We can move to the battlefield itself, and now while you can create the map, right? You have all the necessary tools here. You can also change the size of the map if you're playing for different points. It's much easier to just load some maps and just go to the search tab, and I would recommend searching for the general maps, because those are the official maps. I think the first 12 are put in here. The PKNG guy was so kind to put them on. So let's load any of those, because you just load it and then it goes on. The best way is to just click the lock here. So with the lock on, you cannot move the terrain features, which is pretty neat. And that's the point for the objective. because you can just use the terrain for the objectives. You can have, for example, from the various tab, you can use this horse, which can mark the objective. He always spawns on the center, so if you're playing hold the ground, then it's easy. And now if you lock the map, then he doesn't move. So there is no way he will change his position. So if you play the 2 points or the treasures, then this is, I think, the way to go. Okay, so if we touch the subject of units already, we have the units. So here you have one of the armies. You probably, if you click it for the first time, you will have a blank here. So you can go to change army, and then probably pick for now something from the basic armies. So the options are pretty clear. You have the either skirmish formation or the regular formation, facing up or facing down, and columns and rows as follows here. You can change the name of the unit, but so now you cannot move your opponent units, but you can move your own units. This is highly logical, I guess. If you want to remove some member of the command group, then it's pretty easy. You just drag it and then trash it, and for example the champion now is dead. The thing is, if you want to put the options on the hero or on the unit, if this is a single model, you just click on the model, and in the bottom right corner you have the eye icon. You click it, you write some stuff, and now Kołata should be able to click on the card, click on the eye icon and see what I wrote. Is this correct?
Yeah, it works.
If you want to put it on the unit, you need to click on the whole unit. So for the units, there is this small thing at the end of the unit. You click it. It's the easiest way to both move the unit and to write stuff down. So I will say that I will put some banner in the skeletons, and the Kołata can probably check what banner it is. So if you want to check the unit, you actually cannot click on the individual models, but you have to click on the movement tray. So if the unit is full, then it's actually impossible to check what the unit is. But if there is any piece of the tray that you can click, then you can click on it and you will see the info, right? For now, I think this is the best way to put the info into the units. Do you have any questions so far?
How to save the army and then just to put it back.
Okay. So this is one of the buttons. So let's move through all the rest of the buttons first. So the dice. This is pretty clear. If you need the direction dice, then this is the direction dice. You click the direction and it shows you what the direction is. And as you can see here, so we've already see that this is the movement log. As you can see, it can be pretty annoying because there is just a lot of stuff. But if you hit the direction dice, then it shows for both players. And if you want to throw some dice, then you just change the amount. You can also write the amount down. I think the max should be around 50. And you can also change the size of the dice, because here you might need the D8 for the flags. You might need the D6 for all the rest. So you just roll it. And the nice thing is that I think above 5 dice, it shows you the summary at the bottom. So it shows you how many 2-ups you rolled, how many 3-ups, how many 4-ups, etc.
Great.
And now let's go to those buttons. So this one is turning on and off those movement things for your units. I would not recommend turning this off. Okay, this is line of sight. So you don't need the usual line of sight, right? Because in the previous UB you had to do this. You had to go to the line of sight, take the meter, turn the angle, right? This is
it was taking forever.
This is what you did, right? And now all you do is you push this button, so it's green, and you click on the unit. And now it shows you all the line of sights and the distances as well, because the almost circle things are just the inch distance, 2 inches distance, 3 inches distance from the unit. So
awesome.
It is I think the best thing in the UB 2.0. Oh, I just remembered one more thing about the units. Which is pretty important, because you often want to have some heroes, right? So let's pick some wraith, and we want to have the wraith to go with the unit, because if we just put the wraith like here, like let's remove one of the skeletons, let's put the wraith right here, right? So if you want to move the unit, the Wraith won't move with the unit. So this is a problem. But if we click on the Wraith, click on the button on the bottom of the Wraith, which is like it chains. You just click on what do you want to chain it to, and you actually chain it to the movement tray. So you chain it to the movement tray of the Skeletons unit, and now the Wraith just moves with the unit every time. Any angle, all this stuff. I think it's great. And the third button, I think it's not really usable because it locks you into the axes. And here is the button you've been asking for. This is the save button. So this should save everything that is on the board, so you can rewind to the game you were playing. So if I saved here, then it would save also Kołata's models. So again, if you want to save the army, it's just best to do it by yourself. And then you save the army, you save it to many of your spots. You have like lots of spots ready. And if you want to load it, then you just load it from those. If you want to save over it, then that's not an issue. You just save on the slot.
And it will appear on the battlefield like you saved it on in some formation, and won't disturb any terrains and etc. It's like in the past.
Let me just show you. It shows up here. Okay, now is this blocked? It is not locked. So let's lock the battlefield. So now I cannot move any terrains. I can just move my whole army. And if I want to delete it, I just delete it. And there is one more button, which is the new addition. I think in like 1 or 2 updates it will work much better, but for now it works pretty shitty for me, I have to say. This is undo button, which is like you move the unit, you want to undo it, and it goes to the position right back. But if you move it like too many times, then it can fuck up pretty easily. But here surprisingly it worked, right? So I think this is good, but this is nothing to rely on. So don't rely on your units going back. It's just better to mark the units if you need to. But if you move the model, because I think if you move the unit and then move the other unit, then it can be pretty bad. Yeah, then now it doesn't work because I cannot undo anymore the chord movement. Okay, so this is about the building your army and all the buttons, and now let's go to how to move on the battlefield. You can see here, this is now in the pivot type, but you can also have the wheel to the left and wheel to the right type. If you want to wheel to this direction, you can just wheel like this. If you want to be like very precise, you just turn on the only movement in one direction, and then you move like this. What is perfect is that it shows you the if you drag the unit, it shows you the amount that you are moving it. Try it by yourself if you want to move any of the units, right?
Okay.
So I think it's pretty good. It won't show. Unfortunately, there is no change formation. You have to put new unit in. So do you have any questions at this point?
Are there any kind of habits or savoir-vivre which you have to know when entering, the game? Because I haven't played for a long time. Maybe there are some new ideas, what to use, where to mark things with the new editions of the Night Age. Okay,
so on UB, I would say that the most important thing is not to be an asshole. Vast majority of the people don't really care about the small stuff like if you keep exactly inch from your other unit, although it's much easier now because you have the measure, but most people don't really care. If you move, like as I said, you can do your movement like this. You can wheel, then you can move forward, then you can wheel in the other direction, right? But most people will be perfectly fine if you do it just like put the unit and drag the unit. That will be fine for most people. So this isn't an issue. Then the nice tip is to always have your flags card. You can save your flags with your army, but what I would recommend is actually using one of your slots to save the flags cards. You can see if I load this now, I will load my flags army, and you can see it in the bottom corner here. It is just 8 flags cards, and I'm ready to have it with any army I have, right?
Then you mark them as used or delete them. How do you do that?
I just usually you either delete them, or if you want to remember, you just move them up. I like to so you have two sides. You have left side or right side. So one is probably for you, the second is for your opponent. So if you roll the magic phase, you just put it up here, and then you can stock the tokens. How many tokens do you have around here? So if I, for example, save 2 tokens, I just put 2 tokens around here. And then if I have another one, then I put it underneath it and move as many tokens as I have. So usually it might be a good idea also to have magic cards. You can see that he has magic spells. He has the shamanism here. He has totems probably here. Totems, gnarled hide, and such. Right. So actually, you put those on. Let's just set this army as default, and let's see. So the token is usually something like this. Then you can have it together with your flags, and if you cast it, you just put it on, and it's much easier for both of you. Okay, so another thing that is, I think, useful tip, because usually you need to pick the side, right, the top or the bottom, and I remember that at UB1, usually you were, at least I was picking bottom sometimes just because I was too lazy to turn every model around, right?
Yes, exactly. Remember that.
And actually here you can just collect your whole army and then turn it around like this, and you're ready. So I guess that's good. And one more thing that is something that I want to show you is that UB is sometimes stupid. So let's say we have the big unit, because it will be easiest to show. Okay, I want to remove like 40 models out of 50. Those are all dead, and I have only 10 models. And now I want to do a post-combat reform. I want to do some pivot. So look at what happens to those models if I just do a pivot with this. Stupid, right?
Yeah.
Because it actually always thinks that the movement tray is full. So you have to mark your center if you have the unit that was like vastly reduced.
All right. So what's the time of the game average? Because
Okay.
I remember it's been taking forever to finish the game. I was finishing at 2 o'clock at night.
It really depends, but I think it heavily depends on your opponent. My games usually last for less than 3 hours, but I usually don't play full 6 turns here, so maybe that's the reason. But I think that if you are more used to moving the models here, it is much easier. And checking all the angles, especially if you know about those tools, is pretty easy as well. What is a bit difficult is because this is UB, then everyone wants to measure everything properly because they can. In real life, sometimes you can get sloppy, but here, because you have all the tools, you can just measure everything, and some people tend to do that. I would say that the game definitely doesn't take more than 4 hours. Like, if the game takes more than 4 hours, then I'm not willing to play this game, because that doesn't make sense. I think that if you've played at least a bit on the UB, it should take around 3 hours.
So you think it's similar speed as normally, but you
Yeah.
don't have to deploy all the models,
Yeah.
put them out of your case, and
For me, actually, the best thing on UB is that you can play much different armies than you usually have. Like, as you can see, I have 12 armies here, and I've actually checked recently how many armies did I play since ETC, and I think I played 9 armies since ETC, 9 different armies, which is pretty amazing for me, and most of them on UB. So I think that's the biggest plus for me, but also the distance. Like, if you don't have someone to play with, or you just find yourself that you have some spare time, you can enter on UB. Very often there will be people that will be willing to play. Obviously, if you try to find a game during, I don't know, like middle of the day, in the middle of the week, then this can be hard because people are walking. But if you are trying to find the game in the afternoon, then it shouldn't take more than 10-15 minutes to find the game.
Okay, now I have no choice but to start playing again.
If you have any, do you have any other questions now?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Thanks for explanation.
Okay, that was my pleasure. I think now the best way just to is just to practice.
Definitely.
That's the easiest way to get the good grip of how this goes. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Hope you will learn a bit more, and I will see you a bit more on the Universal Battle, and see you in the next video. Cheers.